the War Tales.
Hello and welcome everyone. Otto here with my WARTALES Skelmar DLC review. Alright, I know I'm a little bit late with this one. I apologize, but that's just the way she goes sometimes. Regardless, I wanted to share some of my thoughts on the most recent DLC for WARTALES, a game that is very easily becoming one of my favorites of all time. I think it's also important to give you guys a breakdown because WARTALES is one of those games that I think players are slowly discovering over time, and I think new players will continue to discover WARTALES and what a gem it is. And one of the questions I get asked the most, especially by those new players, is should I get the DLC, or which DLC should I get? The short answer is yes, of course, you should get the DLCs. The game is fucking awesome, and so is all of the additional content. But if you're on a budget, I'd say the base game alone will give you hours upon hours of fun. If you'd like a less gritty and lighter challenge, then the Tavern is a great addition. And for new players, the Pits, Pirates of Balerion, and Skelmar DLCs, you can probably wait until you're close to the end of your first playthrough, or when you're ready to start an adaptive region exploration run. These DLCs were designed for the late game, but they can be played anytime during an adaptive run, so it just depends on where you're at with your comfort with the game and its mechanics. But they're all, I think, worth a look, and they do add a lot of hours to the game. Whatever the case is, though, this review is geared for anyone trying to decide whether or not the Skelmar Invasion DLC might be something you'd be interested in, whether or not it's worth spending the extra coin to install it and give it a go. So yeah, let's get right into it. Let's talk about the positives first. Awesome new province to explore, baronies with different rulers. It's really cool how the province is in flames when you arrive, but it is slowly restored to peace and calm when you liberate each of the different areas. And it's also kind of cool how the province is made up of these different baronies, and each barony is kind of managed by different factions that you've met previously in the game. For example, when you first show up, it's the guard that are sort of in charge of that area, and you basically have to rescue them. One of the areas is the trackers, I guess, and so they don't even really get involved. They're never really involved in the politics of the other games. They're always kind of doing their own thing. Another region is the Legion. There's another region that's the Bandits. You've got another region that's the Inquisition, and it's kind of cool. It adds a little bit of a flavor to the different baronies, so definitely a cool addition to the game, this map of Adorian Empire. There's a lot of really great new armor sets and weapons, including some really kick-ass legendary weapons when you eventually get them. There's some new special characters that you can recruit, and overall the province has a great ambiance, especially when you first arrive. There's definitely a hopelessness in the air, and you've got these roving bands of Skelmar that kind of increase the intensity or the danger, and the fact that you can't siege the citadels right off the bat, that you have to sort of meet certain requirements and set the stage before you can actually siege those areas. It definitely gives the feeling of tension, and just overall creates a really great ambiance. So overall, I think it's a good addition to the story and the world building, and yeah, I had a blast playing through this DLC, so I had a really good time. The negatives, however, we'll get into this in a little bit more detail here in a moment, but the siege battles are cool the first couple times, but they do get a bit repetitive, and honestly I feel like they're a missed opportunity. Final boss battle was a letdown, and the manpower and supplies rations system is a nice addition. It gives you something to sort of manage as you're playing through this, but it really lacks any kind of strategic depth. It's just, you know, little addition there. There's not a whole lot to it, but yeah, it adds a little bit for you to manage. So those are mostly the negatives. Those are the positives and the negatives. Let's talk about some of the new features that have been added. So new unit, the crossbows. So very cool new class. I've seen some criticism online that they, you know, shoot a little bit more like machine guns, and that crossbows in, you know, historical context didn't necessarily function that way. However, there were many different types of crossbows, and some types of crossbows could actually fire at a better rate than longbows. Like I've seen some videos kind of demonstrating the difference between your sort of standard crossbow and a longbow, and basically the longbow will be able to get more shots off initially, but over time the crossbow will be able to get more shots off because the longbow archer will tire. So I mean, yeah, it's a little bit hokey, I guess, maybe, but I mean, I think there is some semblance of reality, and they did have to differentiate it from the archers, and I think they did a great job in that. So I mean, you know, it's not perfect, but I do really like the crossbows, and there's a lot of nuance. It's going to take me quite a bit of time to master the different classes of the crossbows. So to me, they make great foot soldiers. The legendary crossbows that you can find, the weapons can make them elite battlefield specialists. And then you've got, of course, the different variations of crossbows. You've got the gunner, the scorpion, cannoneer, and the engineer eventually will be unlocked as well. I'm not sure if there's a secret class as well. Some of the other classes in the other provinces, like the halberdier and I think it's the assassin. There's some different classes that you can unlock for the other unit types. So I'm not sure if there's one for the crossbows. I'll have to do some exploring and see if I can find that out, but it's possible there is. But yeah, you've got those different classes. The gunner, scorpion, cannoneer, and the engineer is unlocked at level 15. All of them have a totally different feel to them. I think the gunners are probably my favorite. Like, when you really get them going, they do kind of shoot like machine guns, which is a little ridiculous, but it is a lot of fun to play with, to be honest. Very cool that the cannoneer can actually wear medium armor, which is something that the archers obviously can't do. And you know, the scorpions have sort of a very sort of standard feel to them. They kind of, in my opinion, find themselves work best in the most situations, if that makes sense, whereas the others are a little bit more specialized. And then the engineer is very lethal at close range. It's pretty ridiculous, the amount of damage they can pump out when they get in close. So yeah, all of them have a different feel, and I think it's a great addition to the game. Crossbows, 2 thumbs up for me, 100%. And like I said, it's definitely going to take a bit of time to master them. I'm hoping to do a crossbow themed campaign, maybe a crossbow only, or something a little bit different. I have something in mind that I want to do at some point, but I'm not sure exactly when we're going to get to it, because I've got got a lot of stuff planned, and yeah, gotta get my ass in gear and get some of the stuff done. So anyway, lots of War Tales coming in the future, and we will play some other games too, but for now we're gonna stay focused on War Tales because honestly I have so much fun playing it. And yeah, I mean, overall they have a totally different feel from the archers. It's nice that they added another range unit, and I think they're a great addition to the game. Now, the other big addition to this DLC was the sieges, and for me, coming from like a Total War background, those of you who don't know, I have a Total War channel. That was my original channel I started a number of years ago, and yeah, the Ragnarok Total War channel. And so coming from that Total War background, I was hoping for more from the sieges. Now, on the other side of things, I know one of my good friends, Mr. Fireforge, I remember him saying, I think it was Fireforge that had said it, he was a little bit apprehensive about the siege battles and how they would affect the game. And I think for players who are a little bit more used to playing RPGs and not so much coming from like the tactical or strategic background, I think they did a good job with the sieges. But like I said, coming from a Total War background, I was kind of hoping for more. So what do I mean by that? So honestly, I was hoping for varied siege maps, that we would get you know, each of the sieges would feel different from the others, and that really wasn't the case. They all kind of felt the same-ish. It's definitely pretty cool. The first couple ones that you get into, pretty intense, and you're figuring out how things work and all that. And so it was good initially, but yeah, I mean, granted, the siege battles do feel different than the other types of, like, the regular battles that you'll fight and the sea battles that you'll fight in Balerion, but I was hoping for more. So they could have done something with the walls. Personally, like, I think they could have had a mechanic where there's defenders on the walls, and they could have given us ladders or even siege towers where perhaps it takes you a turn to get up, climb up the ladder, and those units are exposed for a little while, giving the advantage to the guys on the tower, on the walls. And then when you get on the walls, you have to fight them on there, and you have like a limited space to work with. So I know that the game doesn't really, it's sort of just the one sort of flat terrain. It's the terrain doesn't have that different layers, but I think it's an opportunity that the developers could have snuck in there, but perhaps it was just, you know, something that they weren't looking to do. So the final boss battle as well was a bit of a letdown. I don't understand why he wasn't a champion, and I mean, like, he's got a crazy powerful sword, and if he does get an attack off, then probably you're gonna lose some characters. But by the time he came out, my group of mercenaries had wiped all of the rest of the guys, so it was just him, and we murked him. It was yeah, it was kind of anticlimactic. I was hoping for like a really gritty, bloody fight with that guy, and just was not the case. It would have been nice to get a siege defense as well, where we're on the opposite end of the siege and we're fighting like waves of enemies coming in. Would have been kind of cool. I mean, we kind of get that in one of the situations where you're lifting the siege, you're attacking the guys who are outside of the settlement. So I mean, it's there in a way, but could have been a little bit better. The other thing that I did want to mention too is the siege abilities that you use with the manpower. It's a cool little mechanic, but it would have been, I think, a little bit more fun to actually have the catapult on the battlefield and have to be able to defend it, and maybe the attackers can take control of it, or if they kill your guys around it and take control of it, or even enemies having catapults on the opposite side and they're firing at you as well. Just really up the intensity, you know what I mean? And there's plenty of other siege equipment that could have been done. Like I said, the ladders, the towers. All we really got for siege equipment was the battering ram and then the special abilities. And those special abilities are fun, but it's they're a little bit I don't want to say gimmicky, but they're not as tactile, I think, like as actually having these stuff on the battlefield. But I mean, for the way that the systems work in the game, I guess there's only so much you can really do. And you know, having said all of that, the siege battles are tense. There's more enemies. There's lots of chaos. There's, you know, everything's on fire, and they are something different from the regular battles. And those siege abilities do add a nice touch, something different that you can use to sort of compensate for the odds that are against you. And the manpower system, while it did lack the depth, added a bit of resource management for you. So kind of want to save up your manpower for when you're going into one of the bigger sieges, one of the tougher sieges. So, and of course, the general ambiance of the siege battles created definitely a mood of desperation, and I think that was I think they nailed it with that throughout this DLC. That I think the ambiance was pretty cool. Just the music adds a little dimension. Just the whole scenario of the region is on fire and everybody's scattered and everybody's panicked, and you've got to rush in there, and you feel the desperation, and you're kind of their last hope. So I think they did a great job with that. All right, I think that covers most of what I wanted to say. I'm probably forgetting something as per usual, but I think that covered most of the stuff. I know this is, you know, not a super in-depth review, but yeah, I think we went over most of the stuff, and you got a sort of general feeling of how I feel about the DLC. Final verdict: as a WARTALES fanboy, Skelmar DLC is a 10 out of 10. Easy, you know, that's the fanboy in me. But if I'm being a bit more critical, I'd say probably 7 or 8 out of 10. I mean, you got siege battles, you got crossbows, you got sweet new gear, epic scenario, and a cool new region to explore. What's not to love about it? So yeah, a fanboy of me wants to give it a 10 out of 10 because I adore this game. But if I'm being a little bit more realistic, we're probably in the 7, 8 out of 10 ballpark. But let's go with 8 out of 10 for a final verdict, and that's me being maybe a little bit generous, because as a Total War player from the Total War background, the siege battles did feel a little bit of a letdown for me. But I mean, I think they fit in really well with the game, and they add something new. So yeah, that's the Skelmar DLC for me. What do you think, guys? Those of you that have played the DLC, what do you think? How have you enjoyed it? And what are you hoping to see next? I wonder. I really hope we get another DLC or some more content for the game, because yeah, I want to explore more of this universe and this world, and I'm excited to see what the developers have brewing. So have yourselves a wonderful day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Autobots, roll out.
voices of fury echo within our veins. Each pulse has driven us ever further into the distant land, consuming everything like a ravenous blaze. Our thirst has absorbed each and every drop of the enemy's strength. But we are not done yet. We want more. We're coming for you.